guest. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and welcome to the 20th Asia Clean Energy Forum's closing plenary. I'm Kelly Hewitt, your Master of Ceremony for this final session of ACEF 2025. Before we get into the itinerary of the closing plenary, we have a few recognitions, particularly given this ACEF 20th celebratory year. Please allow me to welcome the Senior Sector Director of ADB's Energy Sector Office, Priyantha Wijayatunga, to the stage. Priyantha.
This is the surprise actually of the, I think it's not in the agenda. Good afternoon to all of you. It's great to see quite a good crowd in the closing ceremony, closing plenary. I was a bit worried that I had to even announce in my morning sessions to make sure that you listen to all these great speakers in the closing session. And it's nice to see all of you. As we come to the close of this year's Asia Clean Energy Forum, it's, as you know, its 20th edition. We take a moment to reflect on the individuals whose dedication and leadership have helped shape this forum into what it is today. This includes, of course, those who are familiar with the ADB system, you may be able to remember the chairs of the committees of energy, committees of practice on energy, and then there were directors responsible for this forum. And during these periods, like Mr. Anil Turve, Mr. Pilbay Song, Pilbay may be in the audience, and then Wu Chong, of course, we recognized him last time, and then Gil Hong, then energy chiefs like Yomping Jai, who was here all these days, but not today, because he said he had to catch a flight in the morning. And they are trusted ASF coordinators or leaders, I call them, like Sam, who started this whole thing with, at the time with Wu Chong and everybody else. And he, Aiming took over from him. And then, of course, I was there for a brief period, and then David Elsinger, then Ki Yung Nam, then David Morgado. All these people have contributed enormously from ADB side to take this forum forward, and it has grown from strength to strength over the years. I have been to, as I have said, 19 of them, not the first one. And the first one I attended was the second ASF. I came here as a government officer with my secretary, and I ended up in ADB the following year. And so from then I have been here. And I got to know Sam as a government officer before that. Of course, I cannot forget Peter. Peter is one who cuts across all these periods from first to the last, to date. And thank you very much for all these efforts. But at this milestone ASF today, we would like to recognize and honor two wonderful contributors from ADB side, whose impact on ASF and the clean energy community has been truly remarkable. Before I read out, I would like to now invite my Director General, Sectors and Sectors Department 1, Mr. Hideaki Iwasaki-san, to come to the stage, because I think he's the most appropriate person to, recognize them. And yeah, please. Gail, are you around? Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, first, it is my great honor to recognize our dear friend, Mr. Sam Tumiwa, now currently the representative of the North American Representative Office, a true pioneer in Asia Clean Energy journey. As one of the founding visionaries of Asia Clean Energy Forum, Sam's leadership and dedication laid the foundation for what has become a premier platform for innovation, collaboration, and impact. His unwavering commitment to sustainable energy has inspired countless professionals and shaped regional policy. On behalf of ADB and the ASF community, we extend our deepest gratitude and proudly present this token of appreciation to you. Thank you very much, Sam. Yeah. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the other person from ADB whom would like to recognize, we also honor Dr. Kyun Nam, whose leadership and dedication have been instrumental in shaping the Asia Clean Energy Forum over the last few years, and particularly taking it through COVID times virtually. And we did not have any discontinuity in between. His tireless efforts in organizing and guiding multiple ASFs have helped build a vibrant, inclusive platform for clean energy dialogue and innovation. This marks his final ASF at ADB. We extend our heartfelt appreciation for his vision, passion, and unwavering commitment to sustainable energy. Dr. Nam, with deep gratitude, we present this token of appreciation. Thank you for everything. I hope he's around. Yes, as always, he is missing. Anyway, that's now he must be staying outside, waiting, because he doesn't know that this is going to become, because this is going to be his last SF, and he has been handling SF for the last so many years I think from 2020 onwards, and it's great to present this to him. Okay, and we will find some other time to take the photo, but it's for him, and that appreciation. Thank you very much. Thank you, DG. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So it was a surprise, yeah?
It was a real surprise.
Yeah, real surprise.
Yes.
Okay.
This was also a surprise, but we just indicated that to Sam because I didn't want to miss it.
Thank you, SSD, Priyantha, and DG Hidayaki. I'm happy that we had the opportunity to recognize those of you who helped early on in making ASEF what it is today. Now, please allow me to turn attention back to the closing plenary. As you know, I see, he's come in. Priyantha? Yes, please, Nam. Yes. Yes.
You didn't know? Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so glad he walked in and was able to get recognition. That was wonderful. So turning our attention to the closing plenary, as you know, the theme of this plenary is regional infrastructure finance, public-private partnership, and private sector opportunity. The session aims to be a practical wrap-up to an exhilarating week of important discussion, knowledge sharing, and engagement. In this closing plenary, presenters and speakers will highlight the critical role of public-private partnerships and private sector opportunities in financing regional infrastructure projects. With this context, let us commence this afternoon's keynote messages. Please allow me, first of all, to request some assistance. Please allow me to introduce our first keynote speaker, the President and Chief Executive Officer, United States Energy Association, Mark Menzies. He will speak on creating innovation through connection and cooperations. Please, President and CEO Menzies, I welcome you to the stage.
Well, thank you, Kelly, for that introduction. And I am Mark Menzies. I'm president of the United States Energy Association. You will hear from me today, and you will also hear from Xiaowei Li, who represents the World Energy Council. The United States Energy Association is a member of that. And you will notice that Xiaowei and I are very much inclusive of short people in energy. And I just want you to know you too should feel included in the efforts to bring affordable and accessible energy around the world. Now, before I begin my prepared remarks, I too would like to thank ADB, of course, for inviting me here today. And of course, I want to particularly thank Priyantha for your leadership and invitation. Of course, Hideaki-san, thank you too for your leadership in this organization, really allowing such a group of distinguished people to get together. And of course, I too want to join the many that thank Ki Young Nam for the work that he has done putting this together in just in the few days that I have been here. His care and compassion for all the people that are here. I mean, without his efforts, I don't believe it would be as successful as it is. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that. Now, it is indeed a distinct honor and privilege for me to be here today with you. As we have all seen from the day's activities and from the workshops, that this is a crucial forum to discuss the evolving energy landscape, and more importantly, to collaborate on practical, forward-looking energy solutions that will strengthen our energy future. For those unfamiliar, the United States Energy Association serves all energy stakeholders. We are a not-for-profit membership association that facilitates the crucial exchange of policy, scientific, and technological insights with the aim of advancing the entire energy sector. Our work extends internationally, where USEA partners with the US government and donor agencies to promote sustainable energy development by expanding access to energy that is clean, that is safe, affordable, and reliable. We recognize that the decisions and actions that we take today will profoundly shape tomorrow's energy landscape. This is particularly important with the new administration in Washington, and USEA is deeply invested in fostering the next generation of energy conversation and initiatives. One key topic is how we can increase cooperation centered around clean energy initiatives. USEA has a proud record of working with countries to expand energy options in partnership with the United States government and the private sector. Over the past 2 decades, USEA has witnessed a monumental surge in technological needs of emerging economies. These nations aren't simply looking for incremental improvements. They are aiming to leapfrog stages of development that took decades in the global north. They are now tackling very mature issues, and frankly, their needs aren't at all very different from the ones that we face in the United States. Currently, our focus includes clean and renewable energy, fostering robust public-private partnerships, and as I learned earlier today, public private, and philanthropic partnerships, the 4Ps, to develop innovative financing models and facilitate vital knowledge exchange. And two, as we have learned from our workshops, looking ahead, we see a future defined by decentralized, context-specific solutions driven by the power of digital technologies and the intelligence of smart grids. A critical aspect of this future involves intellectual property and access. We need to embrace flexible licensing, open source models, joint research and development, and innovative financing mechanisms to ensure technology reaches where it's most needed to do the greatest good. Now, this also calls for strengthened international frameworks, promoting global cooperation, policy alignment, and robust public-private philanthropic partnerships. We're working with long-standing energy infrastructure that needs to be upgraded and modernized. These systems need to be an ongoing and committed effort. The motivation to collaborate is there, but we still encounter barriers. Often, these initially stem from a simple lack of comfort or familiarity with new partners, or a misconception that countries from divergent backgrounds may not share similar needs or objectives. Misalignments in cultural norms, especially business dealings, can pose challenges for companies new to a particular country. We've observed a natural hesitancy to share proprietary technologies, particularly in sensitive areas like cybersecurity, which is, of course, not surprising. Financial constraints for research and development can hinder progress. A significant challenge is the scarcity of technical expertise and a skilled workforce in many developing countries. Identifying the right individuals with both the skills and the time to dedicate to new initiatives can be very demanding. And finally, disparities in policies and frameworks remain as many countries still lack the appropriate regulatory structures to fully support international partnerships. We're working with long-standing energy infrastructure that needs to be upgraded. Modernizing these systems is an ongoing effort. Now, this is precisely where organizations like ADB and USCA play a crucial role, and WEC. We actively work to facilitate knowledge sharing by organizing capacity building and peer exchanges, bringing experts together. We create innovative financing models to fund essential projects. We develop capacity building programs, offering targeted training to enhance local skills. We support policy harmonization, advocating for aligned regulations that encourage international collaboration. We leverage the public-private partnerships, fostering cross-sector collaborations that bring together diverse strengths. And we promote flexible intellectual property models, encouraging open source and shared technology approaches. Now, for the past 30 years, and I should say here that the United States Energy Association is actually over 100 years old. We came into being as the U.S. member company to join the World Energy Council, and you will hear from Xiaowei Liu after me. Back then, the World Energy Council was actually created because there was a new product that was being developed, and it was key that countries felt that they had access to it. And this was a new product that was going to replace coal. Coal drove energy consumption in those days. The new product, petroleum, oil, 100 years ago. Last year, according to the IEA, world consumption of oil, of coal, hit a global peak. We have been working for 100 years to replace coal, even with petroleum and, of course, now renewables. course, last year renewables also hit a peak, as did oil, but coal. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that demand is growing. And to meet the demand, it takes all of the above. But all of our efforts here have been to bring clean, safe, affordable energy to people to replace coal, to replace petroleum, to reduce emissions globally. So for the past 30 years, USEA has been dedicated to creating energy partnerships that facilitate technology sharing and build capacity across the globe, ultimately improving energy access and reliability. We are uniquely positioned to mobilize volunteers from leading U.S. utilities to share best practices, enabling our overseas partner to, as we said, leapfrog approaches, saving both time and money and not repeating the mistakes of the past. These peer-to-peer partnerships not only enhance operational capacity, but also expose our partners to the latest technologies and vendors. We engage in international energy partnership programs to bring advanced energy technologies to energy-poor nations. Our collaborative partnerships focus on energy access and sustainability through solutions like solar microgrids, grid modernization, regulatory frameworks, energy markets, carbon management, and decentralized energy systems. Over the last 25 years, with the support from USAID, USEA implemented a partnership focused on energy collaboration between all of the South Asia countries. It was the first and only of its kind and was instrumental in aligning the country's grids and policies to allow for the 16 billion units of electricity traded annually in the BBIN region today. USEA's work in Asia has also yielded direct technical and institutional outcomes. In India, beginning in 2020, USEA helped implement automatic generation control and dynamic reactive power compensation technologies to improve frequency regulation and voltage stability, significantly strengthening grid reliability. The association has also facilitated peer-to-peer exchanges with United States grid operators such as PJM and the California ISO, which helped counterparts in South and Central Asia develop system-operated roadmaps, modernize dispatch protocols, and adopt best practices for renewable integration. USEA implemented a 5-year partnership in the Philippines that helped local utilities and regulators adopt global best practices in power distribution, corporate management, and energy policy reform, contributing to lower electricity costs, improved service reliability, and increased private sector investment. These programs, funded by USAID, the World Bank, and ADB, and others, have led to enhanced regulatory frameworks, more transparent procurement systems, and greater private sector participation in clean energy investments across the region. Through these sustained partnerships, USEA has directly supported the region's transition to cleaner, smarter, and more resilient energy systems. USEA also prioritizes capacity building to modernize energy infrastructure with clean, efficient technologies alongside knowledge exchange between U.S. companies and their peer organizations in emerging markets to promote innovation and strengthen local expertise. A key element is enhancing regulatory structures in overseas utilities that encourage international investments for U.S. companies in energy projects. For example, USEA's Indo-Pacific Energy Market Investment and Modernization Program sought to strengthen the U.S. security of U.S. allies and partners, create open, efficient, rule-based, and transparent energy markets, improve free, fair, and reciprocal trading relationships, and expand access to affordable, reliable energy. This program served Indo-Pacific nations, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, Burma, Cambodia, India, Laos, Malaysia, Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. Now, USEA is also working with the Georgian State Electro System, a key transit corridor connecting the Southern Caucasus and Europe, on a groundbreaking resilience analysis to increase the security of the regional electricity network and improve conditions for cross-border electricity trade. This study, which quantifies the risks to GSE's operations posed by human error, cyber and kinetic warfare, seismicity, and weather, will result in investment recommendations to the ADB and other investment banks that will harden and make the Georgian power grid more resilient. We believe this groundbreaking study should be scaled and replicated worldwide to combat the ever-growing risks to national and regional grid security. USEA also plays a vital role in clean energy financing and technology transfer, helping facilitate transparent energy financing and technical collaboration for clean energy projects between the global north and south. For example, in Africa, USEA has worked with U.S. energy companies to provide expertise for the deployment of solar, wind, geothermal, and energy storage solutions. In Latin America, USEA provided technical assistance to governments to lay the groundwork for nearly $1 billion investment in offshore wind. These projects often leverage green finance mechanisms and offer training workshops for local engineers and technicians in the Global South to ensure sustainable technology adoption. One example is the Power Africa initiative, which USEA supported by creating the enabling environment for investment in energy infrastructure in Africa. We have also worked with utilities in Mexico, Tanzania, Kazakhstan to implement a fair and transparent procurement process that encourages outside investments on projects to increase electricity access. Furthermore, working at the nexus of the private sector and government in Colombia, USEA facilitated dialogue and technical collaboration on regulatory frameworks for offshore wind and green hydrogen, opening new markets for investment. Our work extends to partnerships with international organizations for grid modernization. USEA has collaborated with global organizations to modernize energy grids, focusing on smart grids, energy storage, and renewable integration. For instance, USEA's collaboration with the Asian Development Bank and International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, has contributed to improving electricity grids and cross-border trade in regions such as South Asia. These partnerships focus on transferring knowledge about advanced grid management technologies from the global north to improve resilience and reliability in countries where energy infrastructure is vulnerable. USEA also collaborated with the Southern Africa Power Pool, the West African Power Pool, Central African Power Pool, and the East African Power Pool. Additionally, alongside its U.S. colleagues at the California ISO and the PJM Interconnection and MISO, we've assisted the Colombian system operator with their roadmap for energy integration and planning for future market growth. Now, we have long championed a regional approach to increasing energy security and enlarging energy markets. For over 20 years, we have worked cooperatively with transmission system operators in the Southern Caucasus, the Black Sea, the Southeast Europe to jointly procure common transmission planning software, train engineers in its use and application, and develop regional network planning models. These models and the analysis undertaken by USEA and its regional partners is widely credited with leveraging more than $100 billion of transmission investment that has increased network connectivity and provided the backbone infrastructure for regional electricity trade through various initiatives. USEA has facilitated technology demonstration and pilot projects in the Global South that test and showcase advanced technologies in real-world settings. For example, in India, we have helped facilitate the installation of automatic generation control and dynamic reactive power compensation to stabilize the frequency and improve voltage and grid reliability. These projects involve U.S. tech companies partnering with local governments to scale sustainable solutions that address local energy needs. We have fostered collaborative research on energy solutions, bringing together researchers and policy experts from both the global north and south to develop innovative solutions to energy access challenges. A prime example is the role that we played in the U.S. Secretariat for the U.S.-India Low-Emission Gas Task Force, led by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Indian Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, which works to identify opportunities for greenhouse gas emissions reduction, displacement of high-polluting fuels, and key market reforms to accelerate deployment of maximally abated natural gas as a cleaner alternative to coal and other fossil-based fuels. Another example is our involvement in energy access for rural and indigenous communities, where partnerships with institutions in Latin America and Africa focus on low-cost solar technologies, mini-grids, and energy-efficient appliances. For example, USEA and its partners have played a key role in advancing energy efficiency efforts in Honduras by assisting the government to accomplish its energy efficiency goals with establishing an energy auditor program at the National University and supporting local actors in conducting energy assessments for industrial sites. In recent years, cybersecurity and digitalization has been a focus for some of the partnerships managed by USEA. Under the work done with Vietnam Electricity, USEA assisted them in increasing their capacity to safeguard their operations and Vietnam's national power grid against the growing array of cybersecurity threats by implementing comprehensive cybersecurity measures and adopting industry best practices. Now, these initiatives not only facilitate knowledge and skill transfer to the global south, but also help reduce energy waste, lowering both commercial and residential energy costs while stimulating economic growth around energy efficiency improvements for businesses and households. On a broader scale, these efforts contribute to reduced emissions and alleviate strain on the energy grid during peak demand periods. Through knowledge exchange and best practice sharing, USEA strengthens regulatory framework and drives the implementation of effective energy efficiency measures, enhancing grid reliability, cutting costs, and accelerating the country's clean energy transition. These research collaborations provide a space for cross-border partnerships and create opportunities for developing tailored solutions in energy-poor areas. Now, finally, USEA regularly organizes international workshops and conferences that bring together Global South parliamentarians, policymakers, energy experts, and private companies to engage with U.S. and other world energy leaders. For example, USEA has assisted bilateral workshops between the U.S. and Indian governments on legal and regulatory frameworks and technical considerations for carbon capture, utilization, and storage, and a workshop on the geological storage of carbon under the U.S.-India Strategic Clean Energy Partnership. USEA has facilitated the 6th U.S.-China CCUS experts meeting between the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management and the PRC's Ministry of Technology and Science. Other examples include both regional and in-country events where USEA and its partners showcase energy innovations and facilitate cross-border collaboration on issues such as renewable energy adoption, CCUS, and grid modernization. These platforms serve as a means for knowledge sharing and technology exchange across, while also fostering future collaborations among the participating entities. So our work, along with many people in this room, demonstrates that by fostering these types of partnerships, we can collectively address the world's pressing energy challenges and build a more sustainable future. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words with you today.
Thank you, President and CEO Benzes. Our next keynote message comes from the Asia Director and Senior Advisor to the Secretary General, World Energy Council, Xiaowei Liu. She will speak on shaping tomorrow's energy, insights and action for more bright spots in global energy transition. Please, Director and Senior Advisor Liu, I welcome you to the stage.
Mambuhai, good afternoon. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, I will live up to my reputation being short, and my next speech will be short. But thank you to ADB for the honor and the invitation to speak at this landmark 20th Asian Clean Energy Forum. And congratulations, what a pull-off and what a wonderful week. Before I start my remark as per the request, please allow me 30 seconds about World Energy Council. Thanks to Mark, who is our member, already said about being a 100-year-old organization. Yes, for over 100 years, the World Energy Council has connected energy for peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. Our global network, spanning over 100 countries, is dedicated to making better energy transitions happen in every region and for the benefit of all. We are a leadership platform with the vision of humanizing energy. That's why it's so wonderful to see so many people this week talking about it, recognizing the need for multiple resources, multiple speeds, multiple dimensional policy, and multi-stakeholder collaboration. We enable learning with and from each other. We are independent and have always operated in the middle, not to take sides, but to create space for plural voices, shared purpose, and more and better solutions. We have the 5D megatrends framework, which Mark already mentioned. Decentralization is one of them. So let me quickly say them. Decarbonization, digitalization, diversification, decentralization, and demand disruption. These are the 5Ds to describe the current energy transition, which Mark also mentioned already for 100 years taking place, but these are the characteristics of the current one. I heard so many sharing this week, representing responses to one or many of those Ds. Now, back to here and now. It's been a week of rich discussions on Asia's energy additions and transitions from multiple dimensions, including technology, policy and regulations, financing, collaboration, etc., etc., all essential pillars for Asia's sustainable energy future. Many highlights and lessons have been shared, and I've personally learned much from both old and new friends. Building on these observations, I wanted to reflect on what it means to truly shape Asia's energy future. Beyond finance, technology, and partnership, we face a landscape of unique paradox and opportunities, demographic shifts, uneven renewable growth, and urban-rural energy divide all demand stronger leadership and a renewed vision. Asia stands at the center of the global energy additions and transitions, defined by promises and paradoxes. Here are three paradoxes I'm going to mention. Number one, demographic dualities. We see both world's fastest aging societies and the largest youth population in this region. By 2035, nearly 30% of China's population will be over 60, while over 65% of the Indians are under 35. This calls for energy solutions that serve both aging communities and empower the next generation. Second, fastest renewable growth, yet coal-heavy. China added 210 gigawatts of solar, only one renewable source, in 2023. That's more than US has ever built combined. Yet, coal remains very dominant in a few countries in this region. This coexistence of rapid clean energy growth and fossil fuel dependence is a central challenge for us. Thirdly, urbanization and distributed needs. Asia's megacities driving innovation and electrification, but thousands of islands and remote communities require decentralized solutions. I heard so many beautiful stories this week. So urban and rural, centralized and distributed, must advance together. The World Energy Issue Monitor 2025, which is one of our flagship insights, highlight both bright spots and blind spots for this region. Here are some bright spots. China's dual carbon strategy is driving renewable expansion and cost reduction remarkably. India's push in biofuels and green hydrogen is boosting energy security. ASEAN's grid integration is advancing regional collaboration and interconnectivity. AI and digitalization are transforming energy management in this region as well as globally, but there remain some blind spots. Social engagement remains low. Many are unaware of their role in shaping energy systems. Skills and workforce gaps persist despite large numbers of graduates from this region particularly. Access and equity. Microgrids for remote communities are undervalued and underfunded. Commodity price volatility threatens affordability and security. So these paradoxes and findings underscore the need for a new kind of leadership, visionary and adaptive to bridge demographic divides, inclusive and pragmatic to accelerate renewable, while ensure a just transition for coal-dependent communities, collaborative and systematic to unite cities and islands, grids and microgrids for resilience and dignity for all. Asia's energy additions and transitions are not a linear journey, but a collective migration, dynamic, adaptive, and full of promise. Asia's energy journey is reshaping the global story. What we achieved here, how we navigate this paradox, will determine not just the region's future, but the world's. The region's paradox and the findings of our Issue Monitor 2025 remind us there's no silver bullet, no single blueprint, no one-fits-all solution. As the Council turns 100, we are undergoing our own transition. We are moving with the times to realize the new possibilities of a faster pace and fundamentally transformational moment. We are looking beyond the classic trilemma. By the way, that's our invention nearly 20 years ago. And the trade-offs of security, affordability, and sustainability, I know all of you know this by heart, to meeting new demands for access and dynamic resilience. We are working to providing new world energy compass, watching the space, an interoperability framework that were guided by new principles of futurity, circularity, and flourishing. We are aiming for another 100 years of people-centric and nature-positive harmony and impact, humanizing energy is about engaging human collective wisdom so we can move humanity faster and wiser into a safe operating system. Our flagship convening of world energy leaders, all of you here, the World Energy Congress, will take place in Riyadh in October 2026 with the theme of Inspiring Transformation, Delivering Transitions. Here is an open invite to all to be part of this global dialogue and the leadership conversation to turn today's blind spots to tomorrow's bright spots. Thank you.
Thank you, Director and Senior Advisor Liu. We will now have the closing plenary panel discussion on building bridges, unlocking regional infrastructure through public-private synergy. Please allow me to introduce the panelists. Please, when I state your name, come to the stage and take a seat. Deputy Trade Commissioner for Southeast Asia, Department of Business and Trade, United Kingdom, Rhiannon Haris. Chief Technology Officer, Hitachi Energy India Limited, Akhila Raman. Undersecretary for Privatization and Partnership Group, Department of Finance, Philippines, Catherine Fong. Advisor, National Institution for Transformation of India, Government of India, Suhendu Sinha. Thank you, panelists, for coming to the stage. Now, please allow me to introduce the moderator of this afternoon's discussion, Director General, Sector Department 2, and Head Office of Markets Development and Public-Private Partnership, Asian Development Bank, Cleo Kawawaki. Gigi Kawawaki, over to you.
Thank you. So I'll scoot over to the. Very much of an honor for me to be in ASEF. Sector Department 2 doesn't include energy, so I didn't think I would have the honor, but my concurring post as the head of Office of Market Development and PPP has allowed me to come. So very honored to be here and with such an illustrious panel. Thank you. So we have a bit of questions for you, and I didn't do my homework too much, so I don't know who would be the best. So if we can have it more as a conversation, and people chime in when they have output, I think that'll make the discussion more lively. So, but I do have one question that I've always wanted to ask the UK representative, because you have such a long history of private-public partnerships that, how can government's supported finance be leveraged internationally to de-risk private sector infrastructure investments? And should these initiatives be viewed as independent to the development of private capital, or are they complementary?
Thank you. And may I start by saying what a pleasure it is to be on this panel. Thank you for ADB for inviting me. This is actually my first ASEF. I've been in my role as Deputy Trade Commissioner covering Southeast Asia based out of Singapore for just over a year now. And I cover actually our trade and investment in all sectors as part of my role. But energy is one that's close to my heart because earlier in my career I spent 6 years working in our domestic energy department in Whitehall and was fortunate to get to play a role in our own energy transition. One thing I know from that, and that I think is very true to the journey that this region is going on now, is that clean energy infrastructure is often an area that is high risk and has long-term payback. And that is where the challenge can be to try and seek a purely private funding. And I kind of wanted to mention this is where the UK is also supporting in this region, because we're able to provide long-term risk-tolerant capital to enable some of those partnerships to flourish. And the key to our approach is that we design it as catalytic. So we step in when the risk is beyond what the private sector alone can bear, and take a long-term view with that, and very much looking to crowd in, not crowd out the private sector, because we want to be there to sort of multiply and enable that independence to rely on private investment in the longer term. But I thought I'd mention an example from India, actually, where one of our tools in our global investment partnership toolkit, British International Investment, supported Ayana Renewable Power to build from the ground up large-scale solar and wind. And this was an area that they were looking to particularly serve underserved, hard-to-reach communities in India. We all know India is a vast place. And so it was therefore less attractive to private investment. And BII, British International Investment, came in as the anchor investor to give confidence to others to then come in to invest. And I'm really pleased to say that now today, Ayana has managed to raise $500 million of private investment and has developed 1 gigawatt of clean energy generation across India. So that shows that the approach is designed to be scalable, bankable, and catalytic. And I know from our colleague who was presenting in our deep dive session earlier that BII in Southeast Asia is now looking to invest 500 million in the coming 5 years. That is just one of the tools we've got in our toolkit. We also, I'm pleased to say, with ADB, have developed the ASEAN Catalytic Green Finance Facility, where we've got £107 million committed through the Trust Fund, which makes the UK the largest provider of zero interest concessional loans as part of that platform. And through that, we have been able to help create innovation through the ADB pipeline and mobilize over $2 billion of commitment from 8 other partners. And I know that as an example of one project in that space, flood management in Indonesia has been something that's enabled combining grey infra with nature-based solutions to reduce flood risk for more than 485,000 people. So that I'll stop there for now, but that gives you a flavour of a couple of the areas that I think these partnerships can really help build sustainability for the long term. Thank you.
So keeping this in conversation form, any responses, comments, inputs from the members of the panel? I think there's been the catalytic finance, providing long-term finance, de-risking of financing. I mean, that's something that's been provided by the UK, and I think, well, it's to incentivize the private sector to go where they were not willing to go. So perhaps from the Indian perspective on the transformation.
So I fully agree with what is being told by my British counterpart. You know, my area is that of electric mobility, so maybe I confine my examples to electric vehicles and of course the storage systems. So we are in India, we are absolutely clear about it, that government funds alone, the taxpayers' money alone, will not be able to bring about the result that we are looking at. The private funding has to be there. And private funding will not be coming in until we are able to create that ecosystem where they are kind of, I won't use the word allured, but they are kind of attracted to invest into the systems. That is what the basic assumption is. As I'm speaking here, and as I'm in this SF, 2 things have happened in my country. 2 days back, my Prime Minister, he flagged off 200 buses, electric buses, in Delhi, taking the entire government-sponsored, government prompted electric buses to 16,000. So that number comes. The second thing what is happening is that one of our agencies, they are rolling out a tender for 10,000 electric buses. And in all this stream, while government incentive is there on one hand, there is substantial amount of private money that is being pulled into. So that's why it's absolutely complementary. Without private money, neither mobility nor the energy systems will be able to move on. So it's absolutely necessary, I would say.
Thank you. That's very impressive numbers. And you said, Kathy, you are in the regulatory side, that the PPP regulations in the Philippines, they've been renewed. So how do you work through the government sector to incentivize and make it easier for, well, ADB to do advisor work? ADB is.
Hi. So thank you for inviting me here. So full disclosure, she was my boss, and she was kind enough to lend me to the Philippine government. Um, yeah. So my function in DOF, I was recruited to promote public-private partnerships, and we regulatory is very important. So as soon as I moved to DOF, we revised the BOT law IRR within 100 days to make it more market friendly. Then subsequently worked on the passage of the PPP code, which is a more market friendly legislation than the previous one. Um, Sorry, your question again. How do I make it? Okay, I'm very biased because I came from the Department of OPPP and I used to work for Cleo, right? So we do a lot of policy work, we do a lot of regulatory reforms, but my bias is towards um, I want real transactions. We have worked on, because sometimes you do a lot of policy or we get a lot of offers of help from bilaterals, from multilaterals, from different organizations on policy reform. But I'm not a big fan of putting policies that we cannot implement or monitor. And sometimes it's hard to see how it will affect a certain industry. And it's easier when there's a transaction on the ground and we were trying to achieve something. And we've done that before in ADB, where we have helped country clients amend their laws and regulations towards a specific result. And that's my bias. So even in DOF, when we talk with multilaterals, with organizations, with even bilaterals, like help me put together a transaction and we'll fix everything that needs to get fixed along the way. And I think that's what we're still trying to do. That's how we need an ADB, because if we work with commercial advisors, sometimes they don't do the high level policy support. So in that sense, yeah, we welcome discussions and knowledge products from everyone, and we like innovative thinking, but we like it towards a particular end result.
Thank you for that. I mean, we really appreciate all the work that you've done to make it more commercially friendly. And yes, keep up the good work. It's great. Thank you. And so for companies like Hitachi, I mean, what is that mix of public sector support and private sector risk balance that you want to achieve? And how can we make it easier for your company, companies like yours, to take more risk?
Okay, so I would start with the public-private sector partnership, how we can help as OEM, as technology company. If you look at to make it more, I would say the attractive, friendly, what you need is the infrastructure project has to be measurable, predictable. And measurable in terms of how you measure the benefit of the energy transition, for example. And we are talking about the ASEAN power grid, and gradually will also become Asian power grid. And also in India, we say one sun, one world, one grid. So that's the vision. And so all the grids will be interconnected. I think for that we need technologies like HVDC, high voltage DC transmission, because that makes it more predictable, very efficient. At the same time, it can give you the option of working like a federation. It can be a federated system of power grids. So here, measurable in terms of measuring the benefit, measuring the energy transition, the carbon footprint. So the technologies, as I said, like HVDC, flexible AC transmission system, battery energy storage system, and of course the automation, the distributed energy resource management. So these will bring the measurability in real time. So that's how it can give confidence to the public and private funding agencies to fund the project. Predictability, something which the risk, the financing companies, they are worried about it, the risk and predictability. So AI, the artificial intelligence, that will bring the predictability. So sitting on top of the core technologies of the transmission, we call it no transition without transmission. So on top of the, whether it's a HVDC technology, HVAC, FACTS technology, or BESS, on top of that, the automation, the distributed energy resource management, and then the AI will bring the predictability. I think this is what will give confidence to the public and private funding agencies, support agency to fund the project. And at the end, we just don't have to look at ROI. Of course, that is very important. That's the core, return on investment. But I would say here, we should come up with something called ROE, return on environment. I think there are a lot of leaders, scientists here. So they should come up with some factor of ROE, how that can be also measurable and predictable in future, and which will give and support the energy transition projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Return on environment. Okay. Any economists with that figure coming out now? Not yet, sorry. We'll think about it.
Food for thought, I think. Return on environment, somebody can come up with some research paper on it.
Yeah, but we do.
It's a mathematical objective sort of term we can come up with.
Well, there is thought on valuing nature capital and, and taxing portions that you damage. But I haven't heard on environments. That was a very interesting concept.
Just the idea.
Very good. So from the perspective, again, Kathy, from the regulatory side, what are your objectives? From DOF, in the Philippine context, for transition, PPP, using it in this area, what is the future that you want to see, and what can this panel contribute to help?
Well, I would really like to see more solutions. So I'm also as you said for privatization and PPPs, I also sit as alternate chair for all the power SOEs, the National Transmission Corporation, PISOM, and Transco. We have a lot of problems in the energy sector, and I would like, we want help, we want solutions, but we want it practical. So, I like the idea of ROE, but I'm fine with just something practical like solving power shortage in an island somewhere that makes commercial sense for the private sector for them to come in, as well as provide clean energy, sustainable energy. We spend a lot of money on fuel subsidies for diesel. I would like for that to go away. It's not as easy. It's not, it's easy to say, can you please come? But then not all of these, a lot of these small islands are not commercially viable. So we have been, like for example, in the water sector, we have been exploring different kinds of hybrid um, financing mechanism. We promote PPPs not just to get private sector financing. We promote PPPs because there's a recognition that private is more efficient than the public sector. So, in the sense that we want to develop something, but it's not yet commercially viable. Like, what is that component that will make it more commercially viable? And perhaps it's something government can support with, or by through the general appropriations, or through ODA financing, any other sort of exploring other sorts of financing. But we are there at that stage where we are working with the private sector to solve an actual problem. I mean, a lot of the offers we get, or a lot of meeting requests I get, is like policy support. Like, we know all the problems, we need solutions. So, I mean, the people here, please help us with a specific problem in a specific area, provide that solution, and you have all our support.
Yes, I was going exactly. I mean, how could the UK companies come to our countries and provide solutions?
Absolutely, and I wanted to highlight we're really keen to work with the Philippines on this and have been supporting on offshore wind ambitions, including port development. Indeed, I was at our energy working group with the Department of Energy earlier this week, and we've got a mission going back to the UK next month to sort of look at how we've done offshore wind port development. But we held our first UK-Philippines Joint Economic and Trade Committee in March in London, which I had the pleasure of being at together with Yusek Gepti and our Minister Douglas Alexander, responsible for trade policy. And as we announced there, we're actually in the process of developing with the Department of Finance a government-to-government finance agreement that will unlock us being able to provide support from UK export finance, which could be transformational, we think, in helping support infrastructure projects in the Philippines. I mean, for an example, how this is supported elsewhere, UK Export Finance supported 6 major offshore wind projects in Taiwan, and that provided over £1.2 billion of finance for those projects. And it was really critical for de-risking the lending to these large-scale, complex, novel projects. So that is, I think, a good example of where, once we can get that agreement over the line, we'll be able to also help support the Philippines in due course.
So, from the perspective of your remit, how do you attract solutions to come to you? And is it what help or what support would you like?
So, as it is being explained, you see, we have to create a solid business case to a private sector. Probably the only thing that matters is whether they are able to make money out of that capital is or not. So we have to create that situation. So as it was being told that return on environment, we do have environment impact assessment, a detailed system is there. But how do you kind of, tell them that, okay, your capital is first that it is safe and you are going to get my money out of it. So you have to be hedging the risks also. If I may give an example, in one of the PLI schemes, production linked incentive scheme for advanced chemistry cell, that is at a massive scale, 50 gigawatt, 18,100 crore rupees, close to 3 billion US dollar. So what we did was that once the bidders were finalized, we went to the federating states, and we threw a system of grand challenge. So we asked them, listen, here are the big people ready to invest, but they will be going to a state which will in turn give them the maximum. Because after all, they are coming into you, they will be, the prosperity of your state would go up, taxes will be coming onto you, then the employment opportunities will be there. What can you offer? And we lay down that what trunk and subsidiary infrastructure you are willing to offer. Can you offer them land, water, connectivity, and multiple kind of facilities? And then these states started coming in. Now, once the states came in, then what happened was that the investors, they became very, very confident that, okay, this is the right place to go. And probably if we go over there, our money won't be sinking in, we will be able to make out of it. And that is how we created a win-win situation for both the parties. And then we could roll it out. And today, 50 gigawatt with the government support, 100 gigawatt hour without government support, that is pulling off in the country for only advanced chemistry cell. Yes.
Very good. So to give the confidence and predictability, have the right kind of proposals and the format. Well, a solid business case is always great. I think we have difficulties in finding those anywhere. Okay, so from well, Hitachi's point of view, I mean, innovation. I mean, I think that's in your name, right? Innovation. So how can we have more innovative ideas, products coming into our countries with PPP?
So I would start with what Rhiannon talked about, the offshore wind. So we have been doing it. We have done it in Europe, that we connect the offshore wind to the land with the transmission connectivity, the undersea cabling with HVDC as well as AC to evacuate the power and deliver to the land. So that's one technology I talked about. And of course, when we talk about a lot of islands here in this region, you need to have interconnections within the country, of course, like Java, Sumatra, and then I'm giving some examples like Singapore, Sarawak, Malaysia. So I think these are the pre-feasibility studies we are doing in terms of how the power can be transferred undersea, whether it should be HVDC or HVAC, and then how to monetize it. I think that is what we help in terms of pre-feasibility study, helping the government, the funding agencies, ATB also, we can do that to ensure that which technology and how they can get benefit out of it. In addition to the technology we do innovation in two ways. One is the technology innovation. The second is the business model innovation. So how our technology solutions, they can also get into the business model innovation. For example, here we are talking about CapEx and long-term repayment, and that gives a little bit of uncertainty to the funding agencies. And also here it can be also like X as a service, which is a term in software, but we are also getting it into the energy as a service, storage, energy storage as a service, grid as a service. So I think these are getting realized now. It's for the owners, operators of the infrastructure. They don't have to spend CapEx. So they just, somebody else is funding the CapEx and they convert that into OpEx. I think that's a model where, because then they see the benefit on a continuous basis, then they can run the infrastructure. And there we sort of develop our products and solutions and services in a way that on a continuous basis, the owners, operators, developer, owner, operator of the infrastructure, whether it's a transmission line, undersea cable, HVDC, FACTS, or even EV charging stations, or even the hydrogen, green hydrogen production. So all this can also be in addition to the technology, the business model can be developed, which can give more confidence to the funding agencies and also make the project more viable in future. And of course, use the automation and digitalization to monitor the financial benefits as well as the technical benefits of these projects, whether they are the transmission, the HVDC, FACTS, battery energy storage, hydrogen, EV charging. So all can be there. I think we have all the technologies there. It's all about how we can come together to do this pre-feasibility study. We are there to support and of course get into the feasibility and all and the financing model. Yeah.
Kathy, you want to comment?
Sounds all very nice to hear, but well, in our case, sometimes you want all the bells and whistles and the most advanced technology out there, but sometimes we just want an alternative to our diesel generator. So, I mean, it's all tempered by how much it's gonna cost, and it might not be like the best solution available right now with all the technology. Just might be an old-fashioned simple solution, like exchanging a solar panel instead of a diesel generator, right? But it's all tempered with how much it's gonna cost of practicality and commercial viability. Sometimes you put all the bells and whistles in, but it's not gonna be affordable anymore. So, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I mean it's nice, but sometimes to get ahead of this, um, more clean energy. Sometimes it's just the simplest solutions are the most practical ones.
Maybe I would just, I think that's a very important point that we don't say that transition will happen overnight. I think it's a long process depending on the country, the profile, the energy profile, the target what you have. You have the net zero target, let's say many countries, they have like 2050, India 2070, 2060. But what we also see that a lot of corporates, they have the target 2050, 2030. I mean, the interim targets are there. I think everybody's moving towards this net zero, maybe slower, faster, but then the targets are there. What is going to be important is in the economy. I mean, if we see any enterprise, we are both. We are customer to somebody, we are also supplier to somebody else. Yeah. And the enterprises, they have started asking for some enterprise, they're looking for green steel. I mean, green, it's not green in color, but it's made out of the green sources, green hydrogen, not in color again. I think the entire chain will actually enable the energy transition, slower, faster, but definitely it will move in that direction. And in energy, you always say that in electricity and power that we can't afford to have 1 millisecond or 2 millisecond interruption because that may create a cascaded tripping and then you may go get into the blackout. So we always ensure that while you have the conventional technology, old technology, conventional, but you can always do the step-by-step transition, upgrade, whether it's a core transmission system, transformer, switchgear, substation, or HVDC or SCADA. You can always do step-by-step change and then go into the new technology. Of course, you have some areas where greenfield projects you can get into the new technology outright, but other places you can always do this transition, and that can be also at the pace of the funding, at the pace of the way you get the funding from the sources, and also make it measurable, make it as a service kind of environment. Yeah.
If I can just have an add-on. If I can just have an add-on. You see, normally what happens is that in quest for innovation, we focus more on technology innovation. And what happens is that the business innovations, new business models, they take a backseat. I will give you an example. Till 3 months back, Tatas were the ruling, four-wheeler manufacturers in India. They were the best sellers. Now, overnight, what these MG people did was, Maurice Garage people, what they did was, they said that fair enough, in electric vehicle, let battery be mine. Only the car is yours. Now, overnight, the cost of the vehicles dropped down by 50%. So they said that battery is ours, battery is my problem, company's problem. You don't have to own the battery. You just own the car. The prices came down, and within 2 months, they became the number one car seller. So this is just I'm trying to say. Similarly, there are others who are saying for the heavy duty freight electrification, that don't bother about the battery and the charging infrastructure, how much time will it take? We'll swap it. We'll swap your battery immediately. So these kind of, until innovative business models are positioned, probably technology only improvement won't do much. So we have to go hand in hand.
Combination. That's exactly the example of battery as a service. So because we always have the anxiety, we call it anxiety, charging anxiety, battery anxiety. Battery goes down, charging not there. Where I think they ensure that you don't worry about what battery, which battery. So your car is it runs. We will support you in terms of battery as a service, replace it, upgrade it. Yeah.
Thanks. I thought I might add that I think so. Something the UK has tried to do in leading the way globally is drive down prices on some of these innovative renewable technologies. So back when I was working in the energy department many moons ago, one of the projects I had was helping take through the legislation that set the framework for our electricity market reform, including our contracts for difference model and capacity markets. And I remember sort of when we had the first auction under contracts for difference, the strike price for offshore wind, so the price that we could get those projects was very high. Over the decades since, that has come down significantly, not just for the benefit of the UK, but actually globally because of that demand that we've set through our contracts for difference regime. So the UK back in 2012 had, I think it was 40% coal generation. As of last year, we've closed our final coal power station. So we have managed to do that transition fairly rapidly, partly not just due to the finance model, but also the regulatory regime that we put in place.
Just to go back on your earlier question, what can the people here do for us? So he mentioned innovative technologies. He mentioned innovative business models. So that's what we need more of. And yes, we need like more investors because the local investors tend to stick to the standard business models, and sometimes they're not enough to solve a particular problem. And if there are other innovative structures um, that has been practiced or has proven itself in other jurisdictions, we would like to learn more about it, and we would like to try it out over here. So those are most welcome.
Thank you. So technology innovations and business innovations and government as a catalyst to move that along. I think as ADB, we do pilot projects to test the technology. And then, of course, we give financial products to lay down the risk or make things more commercial. So I think that's our part of it. But from, really, if you want to dig down to it, I mean, Kathy, you said cost is more important, right, than the transition or the innovation. Now, how do we get the cost down if, it's, because as saying that the wind power, I mean, that spread and then prices went down, competition makes prices go down. What is the most regulations, the importance of regulations? Is there a magic formula in making the innovative practices be more mainstream? I mean,
I think I said cost is more important than ROE. But I mean, just from a practical perspective, if it doesn't make sense for the private sector, they're not going to come in, right? So it has to make sense for the private sector, but they're not going to be able to make some returns if the affordability is an issue. Affordability for the end consumer and affordability for the government. We can't subsidize infinitely. The consumers cannot pay beyond a certain amount. So when I mentioned that cost is important, it's because that's the only way I see anything really happening. So to the point where it's affordable for both the consumer and on the government support side, then it can happen. And what is that cost factor and what can that cost afford in terms of innovation and um, new technologies, right?
so one of the things on the cost factors is the regulation, right? If you're aiming for certain goals, then there is going to be a cost for extra admissions. There's going to be a cost, and like in the Philippines now, for degradation of the environment. I mean, these are costs that you're going to put in, and that's for the government to decide which are the costs. But from the holistic side of trying to get people to go for innovation, any thoughts?
So, as you said that if the problem statement is how to mainstream an innovation, maybe one can suggest that we have to create lighthouses. You know, suppose in a particular geography that experiment succeeds, that in turn starts, inspiring others to follow it. I can give you example from the buses again. In one of the flagship programs, we were supporting all the buses and whoever was purchasing it, kind of thing. And we were nowhere, but our performance was absolutely dismal. We were 3% of our target. So no achievement. So what in turn we did was we said that rather than fretting away our resources for all over India, let's focus only on the 9 cities where the population is 4 million plus. We focused on the 9 cities. That too, we said that we won't be going for proselytizing them. If you are interested, you get onboarded, or else we look for others. Out of those 9 cities, only 5 of them said that, okay, we are ready to go with you. So we went with those 5 cities. In the buses transformation, we focused on those 9 cities. We put our entire might, funding and innovation and business models for those 5 cities. Now today, and based on those 5 cities, we rolled out the first tender for 5,450 buses. That was a successful one. They started getting positioned and they could see the transformation. As a result, what happened was that now more and more cities are ready to come without even our incentives. So the idea was how to mainstream an innovation, that is through the creation of lighthouses.
Thank you. I think India has many lighthouses, and we're glad to follow that lighthouse in other countries as well. Okay, so there any topics that you want to talk about? Because I, I have lots of questions, but I just want to make sure. And before we go to the Q&A.
I'll just take that question of cost affordability. I think uh, for sure the technology is we are innovating technology. For example, if you talk about the battery energy storage, the cost was very high and it is coming down with the technology innovation, with the business model, of course. But it's all about how you structure it towards the end user. I will give one very simple example of a factory, in India, of course. So they thought, okay, we should go for the solar rooftop. The entire factory, you have this roof available. So, and they estimated, oh, this is going to invest. We have to invest some money, and then we'll get some benefit. So very difficult. But then there is another company which came in that you don't have to invest anything. We'll set up. You just allow us to put the solar rooftop on your factory, and we will invest, and then from next month onwards you will get 10% reduction in your energy bill. Suddenly you see, oh, I don't invest anything, I just allow my roof, which is anyway not useful, the top of the roof, and I get 10% reduction in my energy bill every month. Go for it. And that model says that after 5 years it will be all yours. Then you get 100% reduction in your energy bill. In the sense, it's free. The power is free for you. I think this is one hand the technology, rooftop solar with prediction, forecasting, and all. The other hand, the innovative business model where somebody else is. This is exactly in a larger scale. The funding, the public-private funding, what we are talking about. I think this is, whether it's a large HVDC project, offshore wind connection, or connecting the islands, I think all these can be definitely made into OPEX, from CAPEX to OPEX, and then CAPEX is something where the large financing companies, they can take care, and we can bring the predictability and measurability there in terms of technology. Yeah.
Thank you. So like to turn to the audience for any questions. Please, I think we have people with mics coming around. So if you could raise your hands. Oh, we have 2 hands and no mics. Oh, sorry.
We can share some.
We can throw it to you.
Thank you, Cleo. Peter DuPont from Asia Clean Energy Partners. This discussion is very interesting about mainstreaming innovation, the importance of lighthouses. I'd also like to call out the use of auctions and competitive processes. ADB did a great job in Cambodia with the National Solar Park. Your unit, Cleo, worked with OMDP, worked with the private sector department and the sovereign department to do up to 100 megawatts of solar. The price started out, whatever it was, and previous bid was like 9 cents per kilowatt. The first bid was like 2.79 cents per kilowatt. The next bid was something like, I don't remember, 1.5. And interestingly, the bidder who won the first bid at 2.79, they didn't even qualify for the second bid, right? So that spurs innovation. I was sort of making a comment, I guess, about the importance of that, and also the use of competitive auctions to sort of drive innovation. And it's been interesting to hear that. Maybe some comments on other examples. I mean, India is doing this a lot. You were one of the first, or other examples maybe you have from the UK.
Yeah.
Directly from the India Solar Parks model.
Right, copying
Yeah.
India.
I think in India we have, sorry, please go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, ADB, there are actually some people that know how to read, looked at what was going on. Well, you got MIT grads, right? So ADB looked at what was following what India had done in the Solar Parks program, which was developed with minimal foreign assistance. And there was, as far as I know, until well into like maybe the 10th year of the National Solar Mission, there was no multilateral bank investment directly into the generation projects. The multilateral development bank support was on the grid side. So it was helping ensure that there was grid capacity, transmission capacity to get that electricity to market. So there's no need to subsidize renewable generation anymore unless there's some really extraordinary case, like say ocean thermal energy conversion. But that business model, it's a variation of industrial park development, which we heard about yesterday in the session, that was mostly about the experience in China. We don't have to invent any new wheels here.
Yeah, I think that's right. In India, for example, we have this tariff-based competitive bidding. I mean, based on the unit, the energy unit, what you produce, whether you set up a power plant or you set up a transmission line, HVDC line, this is all linked to finally the energy cost, per unit cost. I think then you can convert that into the CapEx and then OpEx for next 10 years, 15 years. And that also has happened in electric vehicle, e-mobility, that it's called gross cost contract. The transport utilities, they say that, okay, you set up so many buses, we'll pay you per kilometer of run of the buses. Then the bus is yours, then you manage the cost and also. And also, subsequent to that, they said, okay, the fleet companies, the electric vehicle companies, basically the electric bus companies, they said, okay, we are not electrical company, we can't set up the electric vehicle charging system. Then they created a package saying that, okay, there can be some companies who can provide the charging infrastructure again the similar way. They will be paid for kilowatts, how many kilowatts of charging they are providing to the bus. So that innovative business model has come up. And of course, it is economy of scale. I mean, somebody has to start somewhere, but once you have more buses, more run of the buses, you get, and that simulation can be done by the funding agencies and during the feasibility. Yeah.
Kathy, you want to comment?
With regard to the auction, of course, we want open auction. The competitive tension makes prices lower. So ADB is definitely helping us with that. I see the CVK team over there. So we're auctioning off our hydropower plant. Please bid. Just kidding. And then I wanted to say something about the subsidy for renewable. Yes, it's pretty much a competitive environment, and there's a huge market right now, and energy has been deregulated in the Philippines. But where in the, we call it SPUG areas, small power utility group areas, these are the small islands where commercial viability might be a problem because these are really poor communities that are not connected to the grid. I'm not gonna make a promise, but I'm open to looking at subsidies just to convert those diesel generators. I mean, if the solution is cheaper, we're already subsidizing fuel for these diesel generators that don't even provide 24-hour power to these small communities. And like it's a chicken or egg problem, right? These communities we won't flourish without the power. So we're Uy, sorry. And then I mean, just for practical purposes, if there's a solution that is more clean and cost less than what we're spending right now for these communities and these diesel generators, we're not opposed to the subsidy.
Thank you. I mean,
One point, yeah. Catherine, see, the difference, normally we have to choose between probably the capital subsidy and the revenue subsidy. That's how. And I think UCME, the burden on the exchequer, it either would be on the subsidy you give towards your revenue operations or the subsidy towards your capital, right? So I understand UCME is a kind of a revenue subsidy model which you follow it in Philippines. That's my understanding is. And in India, earlier electricity operations, we used to have a subsidy on tariff, but then we have come up with PM Saurghar Yojana, where we do a capital subsidy for the residential consumers, which actually is a one-time capital subsidy, but then the overall in a balance sheet, in a financial model, it actually negates after 6 years or 7 years. But then it's not so easy because you need an initial capital funding. This is and but then for if the capital funding can be got down if you have the scales in place. Filipinos, you do not have the scale, but then aggregation model works with electric mobility case. India have done it through a CESL route. Even without all these things, there is a weird case of Lebanon where there is no government subsidy, nothing, there is just no electricity, public funded themselves, and almost 70 plus households in Lebanon are self-funded solar rooftops plus battery models. It's not one solution fits all, but then couple of success stories, and then Mr. Sinha mentioned about lighthouses. Probably you have a knowledge house beside you. You can probably take a lot of tips from him.
thank you. Lots of solutions.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I mean, yes, we're willing to learn from other countries, especially how it can be applicable to the areas we're thinking of. If it's applicable, like, why not?
So SPUGs have been an issue that we wanted to work on for like 20 years, so.
That any disruption, if we are going to adopt, you see, the initial period is absolutely excruciating, more so from the point of view of finance. So even if the solar story, which is a success story in India, if you recollect the initial days when it was being set up in Gujarat, the whole of India was up in arms that what is the new thing coming? In those days, the costing was coming 20 odd rupees per unit, which was almost 10 times more than the thing. The moment we are able to reach that scale, it's there. Same is the case with electric mobility. Same is the case of multiple new streams of transmission, things like that. So that is the time when precisely government has to hold firm through their policies, consistency of policy, and yes, that is the time when probably that leap of faith, you see, we have to encourage the private sector also that please get into the stream. More or less, they do get into the stream. It's not like that. And once they are there, and once we are able to reach that scale, we are sorted.
Thank you. I mean, just because I've been trying so hard to get UK companies interested in coming to Asia, what can we do to have that leaps of faith to come into the market? Anything we can do.
We have got a lot of UK companies already in Asia, I'm pleased to say, and I can say that both from having previously spent 4 years covering South Asia before I'm now here covering Southeast Asia, and UK businesses are really keen to get more engaged in these markets. I just last October led a trade mission of UK companies to Vietnam's Green Economy Forum and Expo, and we will have a delegation at Singapore International Energy Week as well. So anyone who's going to be in Singapore for that, please look out for our UK companies that are exhibiting. And also our banks are playing a key role. Probably Standard Chartered Bank is, I hope, a household name in this region, and they have committed to mobilize $300 billion of sustainable finance by 2030 to support the region's green transition, including through the Just Energy Transition Partnerships in Vietnam and Indonesia. So we absolutely want to play a role in this transition in Asia. I mean, also as a strategic dialogue partner to ASEAN, sort of beyond the sort of development lens, we're trying to bring in UK private sector expertise. And we were talking earlier about the fact that it isn't just about financing, but the other elements like how you do your policy and regulation and how you do your delivery. One program I wanted to mention is our ASEAN Sustainable Leadership in Infrastructure program, which is in its 3rd year and is a course that's accredited by the University of Cambridge, one of our top institutions, and developed with private sector expertise. And that is training a next generation of infrastructure practitioners in policy and delivery of big infra programs, drawing on that UK experience. So private sector is present in many ways, purely commercially, and then also providing support and finance across the spectrum of infra in Asia, and we want to grow that even more.
So the CBK team, they're just going to be UK bidders, okay? We hope. All right, any more questions from the floor? Okay. I think we're okay. So, any last words that you want to leave the audience before we go?
If I just say that, as I mentioned about this new kind of disruptions which is happening, be it energy, be it mobility and multiple storage systems, the core value proposition should not be lost. You have to hold on to it. So I was just thinking, you call it Asian Development Bank, ADB. What was the harm in calling it Asian Bank for Development? No harm. You could have also called it Development Bank for Asia, DBA. No harm. But if you change the configuration, then development goes to the margins. Development comes only at the center if you call it Asian Development Bank. That's why I'm saying it, that the core value proposition, we have got to hold on to it. And well, as we move on, and as I said, once the scale is reached, then it's doable. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, any last words?
To say, but thank you again for inviting me here. And if any of you are interested, have innovative solutions and innovative business models, please feel free to reach out. Or yeah, you can get my number from ADB. So, thank you.
Yeah, in Hitachi, we call our business also as social innovation business because At the end, it has to be the society which is benefiting it, the societal benefit of the technologies we develop, whether it is energy technology, transmission technology, HVDC, facts, battery energy storage, automation, and digital, of course. In Japan also we call it GX, Green X, we call it also in combination GX and DX. The Green X as well as the Digital X, I think that is what is going to go together. Both the use, of course, the digital and also the data, they use electron, and energy also uses electron, of course, we also came to know about. Molecules, how important they are, LNG, the gas, the oil, they're going to be coexisting. And I think with that, we need to ensure how the technology is touching the lives, the society, and it is all there. I think we have to all, with the financing, with the support from all the stakeholders, I think we can make it. And wherever it is a new technology, we can always go for pilot to experience. And very important, I think, is whether it's GX or DX to develop the workforce. The current workforce, they have to be trained for the energy transition, sustainability, and also the future workforce. They also have to be trained multidisciplinary, because all these subjects are multidisciplinary now, not just the electrical or mechanical or chemical or computer science or the economics. I think they're all now mixed, and everybody has to have that holistic knowledge about it. I think this is what we are going forward, and that's why we call it at the end social innovation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I think my final reflection would be this isn't easy, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be here for a week talking about it. And the way through is through partnership. The UK has been on this tough journey the past decade and more. We want to share that learning, and our offer in this region ranges from our development finance tools through to our UK export finance, through to our technical assistance, sharing our policy expertise and learning, through to our private sector offer. So we're very much here wanting to help, and do reach out to our teams if we can assist.
Thank you. So I'm not going to attempt to summarize, if that's okay with Kelly. Okay. And I'd just like to really thank the panel. It's been a very engaging and exciting discussion. Thank you very much.
I was going to ask the panelists to stick around, and DG Kawawaki to stick around for about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes for the photo shoot, if that's okay with you. Yeah, 2 minutes. You can get some now. Looks like they want to do the photo shoot now. BP? Yes. Yes, we'll have another photo shoot afterward. Thank you. Again, thank you, DG Kawawaki, and all the panelists for such an important discussion. Please allow me to introduce our final speaker for ASEF 2025, Vice President Market Solutions, Asian Development Bank, Bhargav Dasgupta. VP Dasgupta, I welcome you to the stage.
Thank you, Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a privilege to join you at the closing of the 20th Asia Clean Energy Forum, our region's flagship program for accelerating clean energy transition. This year's theme, Empowering the Future, Clean Energy Innovations, Regional Cooperation and Integration, and Financing Solutions, could not be more timely, as we heard from the speakers. As Asia and the Pacific sits at the forefront of global energy transition, ASEF 2025 has once again demonstrated the power of this platform to convene expertise, build partnerships, and turn ideas into action. Over the last 5 days, we have witnessed how collaboration across governments, private sector leaders, financiers, innovators, and civil society can create momentum for lasting change. This forum has reminded us that while the scale of the challenge is immense, the solutions are already within reach if we move with purpose and partnership. And as Mr. Sinha said, continued focus on the core objective that we have. The thematic tracks have provided a comprehensive lens on what it takes to transform the region's energy systems. The technological innovation track showed us how cutting edge solutions, from decentralized systems to next generation renewables, are driving both energy access and inclusion. The regional power, trade, and market integration track highlighted the opportunities to strengthen cross border energy security and pool regional resources. The energy efficiency track reminded us of the gains still to be realized through smart grids, industry retrofits, and innovative cooling solutions. And lastly, the topic to which this last session related, private sector and partnership financing track has emphasized the critical role of blended finance, de-risking mechanisms, and strong policy environments to unlock capital at scale. Our conversations reinforce a powerful truth. Advancing our clean energy goals in Asia and Pacific will not be possible without deeper collaboration between governments, the private sector, and development partners. Public-private partnership not only mobilizes capital but also unlocks innovation, creates jobs, and builds resilience. As ASEF marks its 20th year, our collective agenda is both ambitious and clear. Over the past few days, we have seen the scale of opportunity, and it is immense. But so is the urgency. That is why we are committed to bold action. Together, we will continue to turn ambition into investment and investment into impact, as we build a cleaner and more resilient and inclusive energy future for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you for your partnership. I look forward to our continued collaboration beyond ASEF 2025. Safe travels.